Hello everybody and welcome back to World of Warships Legends. My name is Spartan Elite 43 and tonight we are taking our very first look at the new legendary tier American supercruiser Puerto Rico. It's here, y'all. Finally, for all of you Puerto Rican gamers out there, you know who you are. I've got a few of you guys that watch the channel. I appreciate you guys. This is your time to shine. You guys finally get your ship. So, we're running a free-to-play commander because I'm sick and tired of every time I post a video on a new ship, y'all be like, Spartan, it takes a pay-to-win commander to make this thing work. No, it doesn't. It really doesn't. There are free-to-play commanders that work for just about every ship. But we're running Norman Scott. We've got Nikolai Kuznetsov and Francesco Membelli as our inspirations. Got to get a little bit more range out of these guns because, again, this thing is a glass cannon. We'll go over that in a minute, but it is. Beyond range, igniter, punch through, fixated, fully packed, pretty standard build. We are running aiming systems mod 1, steering gears mod 2, concealment system module, and we are running the epic main battery mod 3 to get a little bit faster reload throughout the course of the battle for every 30,000 damage. Alright, that does slow your main battery traverse speed down a little bit, so keep that in mind. But getting extra reload out of these guns over the course of the battle is something that you're going to want, because these guns are fantastic. The problem is the ship itself, and we'll talk about that. But let's go into it. We are running the sonar. You can swap that for a defensive AA. We are also running the radar. You can swap that for a catapult fighter. I don't think that you want to do that. Because sonar and radar both come in real handy. This thing does have extended range secondaries, although do not build into the secondaries of this thing because you give up far too much to do so, and it's not really worth it, in my opinion. We do have 3 heals. We are running the Italian Unity flag because if you squint just right, kind of looks like a Spartan helmet, and we are running the white and gold Great White Fleet camo. If you guys want to check that out, it's pretty clean. It can be a little bit distracting on some of the brighter maps, but other than that, I think it's pretty clean camo. Specs, survivability, 64,500 hit points with a 28% torp reduction. Main battery, you got 305mm Mark 8 guns. You get 12 of them. Okay? Big, heavy broadside coming at you. If you've ever given a broadside to an Alaska, now imagine that Alaska has an extra turret. Okay? Because that's what you're going up against. Reload time, 18.8 seconds, so they did nerf the reload a little bit on the Alaska to give it the extra turret, which is fine. Again, you can kind of build into that if you want. 180-degree turn time with this build. Remember, we do get a slight nerf to our turn time, but it's only 35.3 seconds, so it's manageable. HE shell maximum damage 4,300 with a 30% chance to set fires. I don't recommend shooting HE as much in this. It's good when you need it. If you get some hardened targets that are bow tanking you or whatever, you can absolutely shoot HE, but more often than not, you're going to be wanting to shoot the AP out of this thing, as you'd expect, just like the Alaska, just like Des Moines, stuff like that. Yes, you do have the option for HE if you need it, but it does come in real handy, more often than not, it's just going to be better to shoot AP most of the time. 9790 maximum AP shell damage. Secondaries, 127mm Mark 41 secondaries. You get 16 of those, reaching out to 7.3 kilometers base with a 4-second reload. And that's actually significant because normally the 127s for the Americans have a 6-second reload. Everything else is pretty much the same, except it has double the fire chance. And I think that's due to us having a little bit more fire chance due to the igniter skill, I think. But 12% chance to set fires. AA defense on this thing's not too shabby either. 20mm Orlikin Mark 4s, you get 26 of those, reaching out to 94 damage per second, doing reaching out to 2 kilometers. 40mm Bofors Mark 2, you get 48 of those. Try again, 64 of those. 64 of those doing 254 damage per second, reaching out to 3.5 kilometers. And then you've got the 127mm Mark 41 dual-purpose secondary, 16 of those, 126 damage per second, reaching out to 5.2. So pretty solid AA overall. Most of your AA is from 3.5 kilometers and out. So you will shoot down quite a few planes on this, even if you're up against legendary planes. So I went up against him midway and was ripping his planes apart too. So pretty nice there. Maximum movement speed, though, 33.5 knots. That's decent for the size of the ship. Keep that in mind. This thing is like the size of an Iowa, for God's sakes. 910 meters turning circle is also very similar to an Iowa. I think it's exactly what an Iowa is. I could be wrong. And then the rudder shift also is 12.8, just like an Iowa. I don't know if this is actually an Iowa hull, but it definitely feels like an Iowa with 305s, okay? And 12 of them. Detectability by sea is very nice at 11.7 for the size of the ship. Detectability by air, 7.3. Guaranteed is always 2. And then detectability while firing in smoke, 10.4. Statistics aren't going to be very good in this ship because I've been struggling with teammates. But I guess I haven't been struggling that much. But you'll notice that the main gun accuracy isn't even quite as good as what I was getting out of the Wisconsin. So that kind of gives you an idea of what you can expect out of the ship's guns. It kind of feels like a slightly less accurate Alaska, although I haven't really had anything to complain about in the accuracy department for this thing. It hits pretty hard. Also, we've been averaging 100,000 damage across the 8 games that we played. Small sample size, but I feel like the guns are not going to be the issue for most people. I think, if anything, the reason that this ship won't be as popular among the average player is the armor. Now, I know Zarky's probably going to make fun of me for saying this, but it only has a 27mm bow. Now, it's not the be-all, end-all, but it does make a huge difference when you're going up against a lot of battleships, and most of them are going to overmatch you. But that's not the only problem. It also has very weak superstructure and a very long ship with a very flat deck, leading to just pins from every conceivable angle. I have been struggling to get anything to ricochet off the side of this ship. Even, like, you'd have to be very close. It has very flat side armor. I don't know if I can really get a good look at it, but you can see just how flat that armor is on the side. So unless you're up close and personal, you're not likely to ricochet off this. The shells are going to come in at an angle, and basically anything battleship caliber are just going to go straight through your deck and just absolutely shred you. I've been struggling to get anything consistent out of the armor of this ship. So your best bet is to simply not get hit if you can avoid it. I know that sounds obvious, but when you're used to playing the Alaska allows you to get away with a lot more than this thing does. This thing just gets absolutely bullied at times by battleships, especially at the ranges that you're going to want to play this thing. You don't want to be up close and personal with battleships because they overmatch you. They go straight through your bow. They citadel you right through the bow or stern. But it does have the longer range secondaries, and I've already gotten close quarters with this thing a couple of times on low health ships. So these secondaries do come in handy when people are within close quarters. But I wouldn't go all in on it because the main guns of this ship are its pride and joy, right? They are that good. Other than that, it's pretty standard. You've got the 32 millimeters, I believe, or I guess it's 38 millimeters of armor on the casemate. But again, it's very flat, so it kind of gets pinned from everywhere by pretty much every battleship at the tier. But the Citadel still, as you'd expect, just like an Alaska, is an underwater Citadel. So unless you're turning, you're probably not taking Citadels unless it's long range coming in from downtown, because they will come in and go straight through that 38 mil deck and go right into the Citadel. Been there, done that, got the scar, okay? Anyway, tough. Above average base HP rating. I mean, for a cruiser, yes, but for the size of the ship, I wouldn't feel like it is. It's right in the wheelhouse of an Iowa class hit point pool. Slightly worse, I think. Guns aplenty. High number of guns allows for a lot of damage from a single salvo. Again, you've got 12 Alaska guns. These guns are nasty. You give this thing a broadside, you deserve everything you're going to get out of it, right? And we talk about this all the time. But, again, she's a bit of a glass cannon. You don't want to be the center of attention in this ship. You want to kind of keep your distance as best you can. Let the enemy pick a target that's not you, fire their guns, and then you capitalize on it, right? Big and flammable. Fire set on this ship lasts longer due to her large size and high caliber. That's the other thing. This thing has issues with the damage control. It's got a very short damage control, like, immunity period. Kind of feels like a Yamato. Like, as soon as you hit the button to damage control, it's basically on cooldown like 3 seconds later. So keep that in mind when you're using damage controls. Wait until you're not going to get set back on fire immediately. I love those planes, I'm not going to lie. But Puerto Rico, after the failure of the Second London Naval Treaty and rumors of large Japanese cruisers, the U.S. began preliminary designs for their own large cruisers. Aiming to counter any other cruiser, they drafted a cruiser larger than treaty battleships and armed with 12-inch 305mm main battery guns. This design, known as the CA-2D, evolved into the Alaska-class cruisers. So, year of design was 1940. Obviously, none of these were built. But the Alaska was. And honestly, it's not a bad-looking ship. It's a bit long. Kind of reminds me of a foot-long hot dog with this skin. but I like the ship. But man, it just does not take damage well. So you got to really pick your spots. But you got to love the Puerto Rico there on the back. I mean, I do love the Great White Fleet camos. I think they're pretty solid until you get in a bright map. You get into a bright map and it'll make you really regret life choices. But with that being said, let's get to the gameplay. Alrighty, so we're going to be on Two Brothers, and we are in Puerto Rico. And we're going to show this ship in all its glory, in both the strengths and the weaknesses of what this thing is capable of. Now, with that being said, I want to give you guys my overall feelings of the ship, and I think most of you probably have figured out what I think of it right now. There's basically no situation where I would rather be in this than the Alaska, okay? I'm just going to throw that out there right now. For all of y'all out there that are wondering whether you should go out and pick this thing up, if you're a collector, if you're from Puerto Rico, I totally get it. It's not a bad ship by any stretch of the imagination. But if you already have the Alaska, you're not really getting anything extra for your money. An extra turret, but a lot less survivability. So in my opinion, I would just go for the Alaska. Okay? That's just my opinion. Now, that being said, the guns are fantastic, as you'd expect out of the Alaska. They will troll you occasionally, but more often than not, they're going to go exactly where you want them to go. So if you're struggling with this ship's guns, most of the time it's your fault. Okay? And that's not me being an elitist or anything like that. That's just me being a realist. These guns are very nasty. They've got very good pin angles. They've got very good penetration for their size. And so, as long as you understand what target you're shooting at and where the weak spots are, you're going to be able to take advantage of that. And I say that you should be shooting AP most of the time because you should be shooting AP most of the time. Just like a battleship. The Alaska, this thing, are disgusting when it comes to just plunking everything. Everything. Whether it's battleships, cruisers, or anything. I had a Des Moines that thought he was angled to me that I darn near death struck with one salvo. Because of the pin angles of this thing. You do not sleep on these. Battleships, you think that you're safe at 17 kilometers away with these things coming in, and I citadel the crap out of you. So be careful, right? This thing will mess you up. Now, obviously, you're not going to citadel everything, but you would be surprised at the amount of damage that you're going to get per salvo. First shot out, 7,400, nothing too crazy, but it was a kind of a rushed shot, and we have to already start dodging, because again, this ship does not take hits well, unlike its sister ship. Maybe not sister ship. Maybe it's its little sister, or cousin, right? I guess it would be little sister, because this was the design, and then the Alaskas were the ones that were actually built. So technically, this would be the older sibling. But anyway, I digress. The Alaska can take hits a lot better than this thing. And then you still have the fantastic guns, you just get one less of them. But one thing that you want to try to do in this ship is limit who can, and we saw this shot coming in. I knew that Musashi shot over that guy to shoot me. Thankfully, I was not completely obliterated there. But yeah, I knew it was coming. I could see it. I'm like, that guy shot over that other battleship, didn't he? Of course he did. But you can see I'm trying to avoid running into my teammates here as I'm trying to maneuver, but I'm also picking my spots. You cannot afford to just constantly be firing your guns willy-nilly in this ship. You've got to pick your spots. You got to wait for your opportunities to where you can limit the amount of damage coming back at you. But look at this angle on this Musashi. A pretty solid shot, right? Like right into the bow, side plating a little bit, coming in from the top. We're going to get another shot here at the Musashi, who just took a bunch of torpedoes and also got shot. But look at the accuracy out of these. You're not going to complain about the accuracy, especially if you're building for an accuracy build. Again, would not recommend going full secondaries on this thing. Memes are fun, but I think it's going to be so hard to get close with the survivability of this ship to really reliably get the secondaries on target. So I think the secondaries are what they should be, secondary. right? Put yourself in positions to do damage, and then as you close the distance throughout the course of the match, those secondaries, when they do initiate, are going to surprise you at how effective they can be. Again, I took out a Michelangelo with them. I've taken out a couple of other people with the secondaries already. We've gotten a couple of close quarters with this thing, just simply due to the fact that, like, you slap them with the main guns, and then the secondaries actually are pretty decently accurate, and they reload relatively quickly and can easily finish people off. But this Colbert gets a little too comfortable out here, sailing broadside, firing his guns willy-nilly, and he's going to pay the price, because we're going to immediately make him regret it, okay? He's been out here doing whatever he wants. I haven't paid attention to him, but we immediately take half his hit points. 4 overpens, 1 citadel. And then he eats a torpedo and dies. Because of course he does. You gotta love it, man. But as we try to maneuver ourselves into position, you can see I've got the Schlieffen over here. There's a lot of battleships out here. We still have the destroyer here to spot for him as well. And you'll see, I think in a moment I go ahead and radar. I'm going to wait until I would go dark to see if there's going to be somebody in range to spot me. And you can see that I go ahead and radar here. Unfortunately, radar a little prematurely. You can see some shells coming in from battleship. I think it was Schlieffen taking that shot at me, but you're gonna get used to taking hits here. Maybe it wasn't Schlieffen, it was somebody else. But you can see we do eventually get the Lejeune spotted. This isn't us spotting him, by the way. It's him firing his guns. But we had switched to HE here, just in case we get him spotted. And he rolls into my radar. That's going to keep him spotted for a little bit longer. And then we're going to take a shot with the rear guns just as the radar goes down. And we're going to hit him again, taking a good chunk off of the destroyer there. But switching back over to AP, you can see we take a little bit of damage there. And that's what you can expect most of the time. And then this Musashi that should have died 5 minutes ago decides to YOLO forward, and I already know what's coming. So you can see I'm trying to put my bow into the situation where he's not going to be able to slap me through the bow. I take the shot. I'm angled about as well as I can possibly be. It doesn't matter. He just goes straight through and just chunks me. All right, and that's what I'm saying. Like, even at this range, I can't do anything to reflect the shot of that Musashi. The armor is just too flat, and it's rough. You've got to be perfectly angled in order to deflect anything, and the result, if you're not perfectly angled, is pain. A lot of it. But you'll see that our battleships have continuously reversed for the entire match. They're now behind the carrier's position, if there was a carrier in the match. Our destroyer is coming around the islands shortly, so hopefully he'll be able to spot for us. We're just going to get the guns back on the left side, use the island to protect us for the most part, and then try to put ourselves in a position where we might be able to shoot something. Kurfürst here is absolutely begging for it, but I think, unfortunately, as we try to sneak a shot past the island, he starts going forward, and then our shells just eat the island. But you can see kind of where I'm going with this. Like, we've shown the guns and all their glory. We've shown the lack of survivability with this thing. But what we haven't shown is the ability of this ship to move around. It's got decent concealment. Obviously, it's not amazing. It's battle cruiser concealment. But it's got decent enough concealment, and the speed will allow you to get into some interesting locations. But here you can see Lejeune. I don't know if he thought that I had disengaged, but he comes back out. We've got AP loaded this time, but it doesn't matter because we're still going to slap him with 3 rounds, and he immediately goes down to the Hayate because of it. We come around the corner. Fortunately, this guy had shot at our teammates here. We're going to get a shot on the Schlieffen with the rear turrets. And that's what you're going to want to do with this ship, is try to constantly be in a situation where you're doing the dreadnought shuffle, essentially, right? You want to continuously be able to utilize your guns in a position where you can do damage, but also not be just flat broadside, right? You want to be able to dodge whenever possible. And you can see that any of the shells that do hit you, it just seems like no matter where they hit you, they're doing damage, right? Whereas the Alaska, you can pretty reliably tank against a lot of stuff, not just because it has a 32mm bow, but because, I don't know, the armor profile of the ship just seems like it does a lot better against battleships most of the time, unless, of course, they shoot your superstructure, in which case you just get bullied. But you can see that we're trying to constantly put ourselves in positions to stay in range, right? And using the speed of this ship and the maneuverability, like, it feels very much like a battleship, right? Even more so than the Alaska. I don't remember exactly what the turning radius of the Alaska is, but I feel like the Alaska is a little bit more agile than this thing. But this thing does move around quite nicely and allows you to keep yourself in the fight. It's fast enough to keep up with these battleships as they retreat, keeping you in range so that you're constantly able to cycle your guns. And this is kind of where you want to be most of the time with this ship, I think, is right on the edge of your range. That's going to give you the maximum amount of time for people to shoot at you, the maximum amount of dispersion as they're shooting at you. You just want to keep yourself in position to continuously keep these guns cycling, but also as safely as possible. You can absolutely push in and close the distance later in the match, but especially early when there's so many big hit points and big guns that are loaded, you got to pick your spots. That's the end of it. Like you cannot afford to just be the only thing people can shoot at because they are going to bully you. But fortunately for us, the Sovietsky Soyuz over here shooting HE for some reason. I don't know. I honestly don't know. But we're going to try to take a shot at him. He's angled away, but I'm expecting him to turn towards us as he goes behind the island, and the Kurfürst actually ends up in there too. So I don't know who we end up hitting here, but I think we hit both of them and get a little bit of damage there. We're at 117,000 damage. It hasn't been an amazing game by any stretch, but this has been a great game to showcase both the strengths and the weaknesses of the ship, which is what I like to do. A lot of people will say a lot of different things about me, but I like to showcase the strengths and the weaknesses of a ship. I don't like to just go out and put up 300k. Well, I would love to go out and put up 300k damage in a game, in a new ship or whatever, you know, but that's just not what I look for, right? Like, my number one goal isn't just raw damage. I just try to give people the best feel that I can for the ship. Now, our destroyer goes in and decides he wants to challenge the Schlieffen in close quarters. He fails. Who would have seen that coming? But we go ahead, chunk his superstructure there. And you can see, I mean, we're landing consistently 7, 8 shells per salvo. That's nasty, okay? That would be the equivalent of an Alaska landing every single shell, okay? And that's the part of this ship that I think a lot of people are going to sleep on. And we finish him off, five more shells into the superstructure. Like, it's nasty. But you can see that the damage control there as we go, like, that was a little bit dangerous. If that guy would have set a fire with that last shot that came through from his secondaries, probably would have threw my controller. But that is a perfect example right there of a situation where you might want to wait that extra couple of seconds so that you're not going to get immediately set on fire by some RNGesus. But as we turn back around, the Soyuz is bow tanking. It's not really a huge threat. We know he's shooting HE, so I'm not all that worried about it. We got 28,000 hit points left, so we're doing okay in that department. And you can see I'm not running. I'm not firing my guns there. There's no reason for me to be the first thing spotted here. I'm going to be the first thing spotted, but I don't want to be necessarily the first one to get shot at. But we come back around. We've got him spotted again. And you can see our teammates are shooting at him. I'm holding as long as I can. Just as we would be spotted, I go ahead and take my shot. And he is going to look at me, I think. You can see the shots of the friendlies going in there. But that's what you want to kind of do. You can use this ship's concealment to kind of like allow you to watch the enemy and get your teammates to shoot at them first. And then when they commit to shooting at your teammate, then you take the shot, right? But this is a situation where it's not ideal, right? We've got a bow-tanking Sovietsky Soyuz. This is not going to go well. And there's some of that troll dispersion you can expect from time to time. But then the rear turrets come through and do that. Like, the front guns looked awful. The rear turrets come through and just slap him, right? And that's where I think most people are going to have fun with this. If you enjoy, like, long-range, kitey, sort of sniping, heavy-hitting cruisers, you're going to love this thing. But, again, you just got to watch getting hit. And Kurfürst here, I ain't gonna lie, this one caught me off guard. Double Citadel on the Kurfürst as he bounces off the border to give us 162,000 damage and our 4th kill of the game. Just holding this flank down, just doing what this thing is meant to do, which is just continuously affect the battle. These guns are fantastic if you keep yourself in position to use them. But you've got to pick your spots. And again, I keep saying that because that is the number one drawback of the ship, is its survivability. It just eats pins from every conceivable angle. You might think that you're pretty safe. You're like, I turned in here, I should be good. No, it's going to pin. It'll go through the deck, it'll hit your superstructure, it'll do whatever. You're just a giant sponge. But 162,000 damage is my best game so far in this. 2,625 base XP, top of the leaderboard. Haven't had bad games in it. I just haven't had great games. So let me know what you guys think down in the comments below. Do you agree? Do you disagree? And if you like what I'm doing, punch the like button. Leave a comment below. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And as always, I will see you in the next video.